So, developing the full student with care. I'm really excited about this. I am about a month old into BSD education. And when I was researching the company, this was one of the things that really just made them kind of stand out, in my opinion. I love the acronym CARE. So we're going to dive a little bit more deep into that. Here's our agenda for today. I'm going to introduce you to BSD education. We're going to dive into what is CARE, talk about our annual CARE awards, talk about how you can bring CARE into your classroom, and then a little bit of Q&A if we have time for that. I'm sure we'll make some time for that. All right, so a little bit about me. Again, my name is Allison Renda. I'm a technology coach and trainer for North America at BSD Education. Like I said, I'm about a month old. I have worn many hats as a teacher. I've been everything from a teaching assistant, AIS math, high school business, and then most recently, a digital literacy teacher. And I have a master's degree in business education as well. So a little bit about BSD. BSD really aims to enable teachers to bring real world technology and empower those teachers. So we provide curriculum, we provide the platform, and what I think is really the most important, even I know I'm being a little biased, it's my position, but the training and support, because I really feel that's where the companies really fall short. A lot of companies out there provide us that perfect curriculum or that perfect platform, but then they're kind of left for us to kind of figure things out on our own. So I really think that BSD has a great structure, a great program for training and support. And with all of that put together, that gives us a real impact. And we are really focusing. A lot of people think that, well, you're coding, so that's your main focus, but really coding, we use coding as the platform, but we're really giving the students the ability to create digital artifacts and digital thinking, digital design. So it really stems out a little bit more than that. So, excuse me, BSD empowers educators to teach digital skills, and we really focus on those hard and soft skills, those skills that are needed for real life, for real world. And like I said, we're not expecting everybody out there, all those students, to become computer science geniuses, or even in the field of computer science, but all students are going to work with technology, and they're going to need those digital skills. And we just use that coding platform to help deliver those skills. A good example, like what I really want to bring attention to for a second, is the fact that when I first started teaching computers, it was a computer lab. The students rotated in and out, there was no grading. Then it developed more into like the computer skills. And then I started grading. Then most recently, the title and the umbrella changed, and it was more digital literacy, because then they started to find that the term digital covers more areas. It's a larger umbrella. And then that need for literacy, just the understanding of all digital tools. So being able to bring in those hard skills, those soft skills, those digital tools, and then why we're here today to talk about values, or our acronym CARE. So what is CARE? CARE is an acronym that stands for curiosity, adaptability, resilience, and empathy. So we think that this really demonstrates future ready skills and that need for digital skills. And remember those hard and soft skills as well. And that's why I love this acronym so much, is because you've got the word CARE, which already means something in itself. And then each letter breaks down in something, a whole new meaning around that. So I'm going to break down each of the letters and give you some examples to go along with each of them. So obviously first we have curiosity, where we want the students to be really curious about the world around them. And we want to pose questions to them that will make them be curious and that are thought-provoking, deep. This isn't where we're going to use a Google form, right? We really want them to get curious and wonder about the world. This isn't something that they can search on Google. They really have to have some deep thought about it. So how do we start doing that? How do we get them to think deeply? So in one of our curriculums, or one of our projects rather, we posed the question, why do people do volunteer work? We want to create a spark here, a curiosity spark, excuse me. And we want them to reflect on what they know, what they don't know, make connections from their real life into what do people do as a volunteer and why do they do volunteer work. So this is an example of a final project. So after you have that discussion with them, after you try to make those connections, then they go into this project, this volunteer search project. And this is an example of the final project. And of course, you can customize it. So, you're not following this specific criteria. But you can actually make it a real company or a real volunteer organization. Have the students reach out to the local community, maybe like a soup kitchen, and start having that conversation and build a relationship with the community. Start having them thinking critically and having that collaboration. So we're kind of going back to those hard and soft skills again. So that's where this spark is beginning. They're really thinking about their community and people around them and getting curious. All right, so now on to adaptability. And we have to learn through change, right? And we have to make adjustments. And well, I think it's pretty obvious that teachers are very adaptable, or at least we try very hard to be adaptable. We understand that there's change. It's not always easy to have that or make that change. But I think one thing that sticks in my mind in particular, one date in particular, may be a little bit different than your date that you may be thinking of, but mine is March 13th, 2020. And that's that real life example where we went to online learning. That was the date that we were told our students needed to take all their personal items home with them. We were told very little, basically said, check your email on the weekend and we'll keep you updated, we'll keep you posted. And that was our big change. That was our chance to learn and grow. And we did. I think every teacher can easily say that they learned a lot during this time, and they had a lot of growth during this time, and we didn't give up. So we have to portray that onto our students, right? Like every time we got into a Google Meet or a Zoom Meet, we had to show that we were adapting and that they could too. So it was a perfect example of what we've been going through. And when we have to, or when we're talking about adaptability. Now, adaptability isn't just environmental. We also have to talk about adaptability of making adaptations or accommodations. We all are familiar with that, right? So we have 28 kids in our classroom, and we know that we have to make modifications. We have IEPs with some of them. So we have to make some accommodations or modifications. So that's what we want our students to be able to do. We want them to recognize that there's different needs, and that we need to be able to communicate with all of those different needs. Yep, that's where I did want to go. I apologize. So next, resilience. Learning to code or using a technology will provide opportunities to display resilience through overcoming obstacles. Okay, especially with technology, right? So we could actually go back and really think about that, my March 13th date, of being able to overcome all those obstacles. And I always go back to Zoom or Google Meet, because obviously those were our biggest struggles. We had to be able to communicate with our students, right? So that was a big obstacle for us. So when it comes to coding, coding is a new language. It is going to have obstacles. There are going to be struggles. And I know in my classroom, I always would say to the students, ask three before me, because I want them to be able to overcome their own obstacles. But I don't want them to get to that frustration level where they get so aggravated that they just crumble. You know that student, they just crumble and your heart breaks for them. So you want to push them, but not to that frustration. So I give them that ask three before me, and I give them the three reasons or three resources that they can pursue before they come to me. And that could be like research Google or ask a neighbor or whatever the case may be, whatever your classroom situation is. So for us at BSD, we kind of have that same line of thinking. We want the students to be able to overcome their own obstacles. So we provide those tools for the student. So number one, if I make an error, so for example, in this heading, I needed to include a start tag and an end tag, and I didn't finish. So I received an error message saying that I haven't completed or I haven't met that objective yet. So I, as the student, can go and reread the directions again. I could look at a glossary card. So I have this option right here to look at a glossary card. Okay. Or I also have this option, unfortunately, I can't see the little symbol right here, but there's a little icon off to the side where I could actually do a search for H1. So there I have three options for me to investigate before I get too frustrated. Then if I've used all of those resources, then I have the option to then raise my hand within the platform and ask the teacher for assistance. So it's a great way to kind of tie in that that resilience and pushing them a little, but not to that frustration point. All right, the last letter, E, in my opinion, is the most important one. It's crucial for social and emotional skills. And I just recently did a webinar on social and emotional learning. You can check that out on BSD on the YouTube channel. So if you want to catch that, that was on social and emotional learning. So really, it's a hot topic right now. Again, I'm going to reference back to my date, March 13th. Okay, that was the time that that I really started to talk more with the students and the teachers about their social and emotional learning and having that empathy for each other. And I actually said, oh, and remember that empathy is really that relationship builder. If you can put yourself in somebody else's shoes, then you have an easier time relating. There's that building of a relationship and making those connections. And I like to say, if we all had a little bit more empathy for each other, then, who knows what the world would be like, right? If we just had a little bit more in touch. So how at BSD can we display empathy or have the students demonstrate empathy? We have them create a multi-page website. So there's actually 4 pages, and they could actually do this for like a nonprofit organization, kind of similar to our previous one that I discussed. You could have this be a real one, you could have them do a mock one, but this is where the students can really get in touch with what makes them feel good, what they're passionate about, and then be able to help somebody else. So now you, as the student, now have to communicate and collaborate with that organization. You have to meet their needs. And that gives them that opportunity to get involved into the real world and create a fully functional website at the same time. So everybody benefits. All right, so our annual C.A.R.E awards. I absolutely love this. This is one of yet another favorite. So what we've done is we've taken our acronym C.A.R.E, and each year we honor a teacher based on each of those letters in C.A.R.E. So, and to be honest with you, like CARE isn't just part of the curriculum. It's really part of the whole company. It's really how we treat each other, not only to the customers, but to each other in meetings and projects and whatnot. Um, so that word CARE just means a lot to BSD education. Right, so here are some of the past nominees from the CARE Award from last year. And we love to honor the, like I said, honor teachers from each of the letters. Here are some examples. I'm gonna have Brent just throw up a link to BSD so you can take a closer look at our CARE nominees from last year. Asia, Middle East, from the United States. And what's great about it is that we're going to be offering that again this year in the spring. I'm really excited because I get to be a part of this. And what ends up happening is you can nominate yourself, or somebody else can nominate you, like a fellow teacher or a parent. And once you're nominated, if you make it to the next round or the final round, we interview you. That video is then uploaded onto our website, and then anybody can vote for it. Now, the only stipulation is that the teacher that's being nominated for the award has to be a BSD educator. You have to be using our platform and curriculum, but anybody can vote for you. So sky's the limit on that one, right? All right, so how can you use CARE in your classroom? So I'm actually going to pose some questions onto you. And I want you to think about these for a second. So how can you care? So I want you to think about curiosity, adaptability, resilience, empathy, okay? Choose what areas you may want to focus on more or want more information about, or maybe, hey, I'm really a very empathetic person. Maybe I can demonstrate that to my students in some way. So here are some examples, just a little takeaway for you. So for curiosity, if this is the area that you were focusing on. Okay, so we always talk about asking deep questions and allowing time for wonder, but I mean like time for wonder. Wait for that spark to happen. If you're asking a deep, thought-provoking question, it might take more than just a couple of minutes for the hand to go up. It might take some process, some thinking time. So be able to let go of that needing an instant answer and giving them that extra spark time or that wonder time. For adaptability, we live by such a tight schedule, right? As teachers, we know when we have to go to a certain special, what time is lunch. We may even have our bathroom schedules down to that particular time, right? So it's nice to be able to throw a little curveball in, so to speak. So I like to use the analogy of, like, think of those cooking shows. When they do a baking show, at the very end, you've got what, like maybe 10 minutes left. And all of a sudden the host comes out and says, you need to add chocolate now to your recipe or your dish, and it's a quick swing and everybody's panicking, like, so you pushed the frustration level, but again, not too much. Okay, so maybe sometimes throw in a little curveball, or take something away, something that they're used to having as a crutch or a tool, and maybe take that away and just kind of change things up a little bit. All right, so for resilience, model how to overcome. The biggest thing here, it's okay to not know. We've been told that a lot of times, and we try to accept that. But it's great when you can say to a student, hey, I know you're really good at this. Could you give me a hand? Or if you make a mistake and the student says, yeah, your camera's not on. How many times have we done that one, right? We sit talking away and then we realize that our camera isn't on. So to model how we overcome, or, you know what, I don't know that answer. Let's sit down and Google that together. Just showing them that, you're human too, and that you can model and overcome. And then, of course, empathy. So design thinking really leads us to be an empathetic person, and putting yourself into that other person's shoes, and allowing help time. So this is what I like, have that A+ student in your class that maybe is going a little too fast in the curriculum, be your helper for an hour. Or that student that maybe is really shy in the background, that sits in the back row, maybe you have them step up and be a part of the action. So having that help time, developing that empathy time. All right, so these are the questions that I want you to ask yourself. Which of the CARE elements can I start with today? Okay, so maybe pick one that you want to focus on, and then you can take a look at those takeaways, maybe grab some examples from there. Where is there the most potential for growth? Okay, well, you know what? I think I really need to give more wonder or spark time. So I'm going to work on my curiosity. And then where do I need help? The resources, there's lots of videos out there, articles, blogs, asking other teachers, what do you do to spark curiosity, if that is the care element that you want to look at. All right, so what I'm offering for you today, one too fast, is a free trial to Code as Your Voice. It includes 8 total projects. The students will learn HTML, CSS, and JavaScript, and it includes video tutorials, live coding quizzes, all access to the coding glossary and the glossary search, like I mentioned, for the different resources for the students. Here is actually, I'm just going to have Brent throw up the link to the free trial for you. And here are the 8 projects that they will be off that you'll receive as a free trial. The one that I kind of wanted to draw your attention to a little bit. Now, of course, they'll have to finish a few of the projects first, but this Support My Cause is probably one of my favorite ones, because they can share what's important to them. And that's where they're really going to get that curiosity going, right? And in this example, it's a Clear Air campaign, but of course it can be anything that they want. Grow local or buy local, save the whales, whatever their passion may be. And it creates like a tally count. It's a great project. It's definitely one of those real world projects using real life technology. So that one's a great one to start, not start with, but to really sink your teeth into a little bit more when you get to that. All right. So the last, if you could go to this bit.ly link, I'll also have Brent put it in the comment section for you. I would love to get your feedback on today's presentation, any comments that you have regarding BSD or CARE, or any questions that you may have for me in general. So, Brent, did anything pop up?
Yeah, so we have one question here for you. Just one second. So it's about remote learning and kind of trying to overcome some of those obstacles that you routinely see. What are some tips that you have to help kind of bridge and make some of those connections while doing remote learning, that will allow you to develop these important skills within students?
Oh, that's a great question, because it's really hard to make those connections. I mean, we rely heavily, obviously, on Zoom and all that to make those connections. But opening up the lines of communication as much as possible. I like to spark curiosity by almost I like to sort of say, dangle that carrot in front of them, kind of thing, where I might give them a little teaser video to kind of get them excited. So that could be your curiosity side of things. And then now you push out that video right before you meet, have them watch it, and now they're like, well, wait a minute, now I have this question and that question, and why did this happen and why did that happen? So now you created that discussion. So now you're making that connection. So it's one more step. I hope that was a good suggestion. I can go a little bit deeper if you need more, but
I think that was good. Thank you, Allison. All right. Anybody else? If you have any questions, feel free to send them through the chat or feel free to just jump right in. I do have a quick question. So the BSD C.A.R.E Awards, so you mentioned that. Just want to be clear that you don't necessarily have to be a BSD user. Is that right?
you have to be a BSD user. That was
Okay.
a great question. Yes, I'm glad that you reinforced that front. You do have to be a BSD user, but to vote for that person, anybody can vote. You do not have to be a user to vote. I'm glad that you brought that back up again. Thank you.
All right. Well, I don't think we have any additional questions. So I'll go ahead and kind of wrap this up here. Terrific job, Allison. Really do appreciate it. I will say that we are recording this and we will be sending out a recording here, likely get that email out tomorrow. So you feel free to share that with colleagues and whoever you think could utilize this presentation. I do want to give everybody a heads up that on October 27th at 1 p.m. Eastern, Allison will be doing another free webinar titled Compelling Curricular Design for Distance Learning. Really looking forward to that one as well. So feel free to join us for that. We would love to have you. Other than that, thank you for everybody who has attended today. I know you have a busy schedule, so it's great to see that we had some people show up, and we look forward to seeing you again in future webinars. Thanks, everybody.
Yes, thank you. Bye.